what we're going to be covering today, we're moving ADP to 2 weeks from now. Hopefully we'll have her back for that. She'll have her life straightened out, whatever she was doing. Her husband or boyfriend or something had a big job offer and got relocated. So I heard it was very sudden. So I'm hoping to have her back for our next session. What we're going to talk about today is it's CaaS, it's cloud as a service. And I want to talk about this because we've kind of talked about this on and off in some past things. We had a lot of people came back, asked some questions about it. We actually showed basically some cloud desktops, what's called Windows 365. We kind of showed that a little bit. And we talked about how basically I'm going to show you guys today, and I'm going to give you a model. Let's just say a startup company, okay? A company with 10 desktops and a server. And we're going to talk about what the costs are involved with that. We're going to talk about what the difference is if you were to not even buy that hardware, not to go down that road, and to go down cloud instead. And what the benefits to you are, what you get out of that versus doing it yourself, and what the cost savings are. And trust me, they are very, very significant, not to mention what you get out of it in return as far as the reliability it brings to your growth as a company. Our company, AIO, has been doing it we've been using cloud for 20 years. We have no physical servers. We've not used physical servers in at least 15 years. And so we're going to kind of show that to you today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We're almost 10. I was going to give people a couple more minutes, but I think we're just going to go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen out here, and I will do a formal introduction, and we'll get going. All right. Can everybody see that? So my name is Robert Trimbath. I'm the CTO for AIO Integrations. We're the ones who operate the group that you guys are in for the cybersecurity group. I want to recognize Ernest here. Ernest is another fellow cybersecurity professional who contributes and not just to the conversation and to the cause, but actually presents here as well on some of these. And we have some recordings up of his. And he is an expert that works out of more of the enterprise channel with some bigger companies and really brings in some valuable feedback about things that are happening in the cybersecurity world that I miss. I deal more with the small business micro market. He works with a little bigger companies. So it's fun when we get to talk about some of that. As you guys witnessed earlier, we kind of see different sides of the same thing. What we do, our company specializes in bringing enterprise level product. I'm talking about all IT services, cybersecurity, managed services, everything to micro small business. That means companies, we don't care how big you are. We don't care if you're 1-5, a home-based business. Most of our 75% of our clientele is under 50 employees. So we are all about bringing that high level of enterprise product into the small micro side where you can afford it and give you that same quality level of service. And that's what we do. We are a veteran owned and operated company. Myself and our CEO are both ex-Navy. Our CEO and president is ex-Naval Intelligence. And very neat guy. Hopefully I'll have him on here one of these times so he can chirp in and say hi. So let's go ahead and get started. So CaaS stands for Cloud as a Service. And there's all sorts of, we're like the king of acronyms in the IT world. And the reason why we call it 360 is just because we consider this to be a solution that encompasses everything a business needs in one place. And it's about being 100% cloud. So we're going to talk about this, and this is more from an educational standpoint. I'll talk a little bit about product later, but this is 90% education than pitch. So I want you guys to realize that's how we kind of do things. We'd like to educate. So let's talk about what CaaS is. It's your entire IT infrastructure in the cloud, accessible from anywhere. That means everything your business needs to operate, the server, the desktops, email, remote access, backup, disaster recovery, even the cybersecurity and the awareness training is 100% cloud-based. It covers everything from end to end. So there's nothing else you need to purchase to run your company. It also includes support for that. It gives you a completely managed solution for your business to where you have one place, one company that's accountable for everything you do. The other thing it does is it provides a fixed cost per user. Now, this is very important when you have a business. Let's just say, for instance, you have a tax business. And this is a great thing to talk about because tax businesses vary from depending on the year. Like, for instance, from January through like May, And sometimes as long as August, they're just crazy busy doing tax returns and extensions. And then after that, it just falls off and they basically have, 4 or 5 months of break until that comes up. So what you'll see is they'll have a large influx of new employees or return people that come and work for them. So that tax company who normally maybe during the slow times has 5 people might have as many or 15 or 20 during the tax season in order to handle their load. So this is great because it's pay on demand. You pay for what you use as you use it. So as your business, it makes your business very scalable. So as you need those people, you can just fire up those resources, pay for them. And then as your business or as it winds down, this is, like I said, great for seasonal businesses as well, and very good for seasonal businesses. You can then wind your costs down. So you're only paying for what you use. And it's very economical in that model, where the old model is more about buying the hardware and all the things you need, like all 20 PCs, and then the 15 of those PCs may lay there doing nothing for 4 or 5 months, but you're still paying someone to maintain them and take care of them and do those things, and you also paying for a server to power all that. Well, we're going to show you a way to save all that money and use it in another facet of your business. So let's kind of talk about this for a second. Let's talk about purchasing all this stuff yourself and then paying someone to maintain it versus doing 100% cloud-based business. Okay. So let's take this from this aspect right here. I'm going to go out and I've got this, 10 or 15 person company, and I'm going to go buy a server. I'm going to go buy workstations. Let's say we're going to spend about, with monitors and everything, about $1,000 a piece. And then we're going to pay someone to set it all up for us. And I'm going to tell you, these numbers are very conservative. I'm going to round it off and say we're going to spend about $25,000 on hardware, setup, software licenses, server licenses, all that stuff, and getting it set up and put in our environment, firewall, getting all that stuff done for you. Okay. And then you've got this ongoing maintenance cost we'll talk about in this next thing, what we call support hardware cycle. That's basically cycling out your hardware every 3 to 5 years, depending, and then upgrading. So let's look at this number. So $25,000. Now, if I go and I do this same setup, number one, all your speed, all the things that power the cloud are actually in the cloud. The power behind it, the horsepower is there. So all I need is something that's capable of remote accessing it. So this can be done via a tablet, a laptop without very many resources. It can be done with a thin client, but you don't need a $1,000 PC to do it. You can do it with something that costs a fraction of that. And the really nice thing about thin clients, if you're thinking about this from a business standpoint and you start with thin client, a thin client is a very small PC. It's 100% solid state. It has no moving parts. Its sole purpose is to connect to cloud desktops. What's nice about it is their life cycle is literally 3 times as long as a normal PC. You don't have to upgrade them, mess with them. They're pretty much a fixed. You do have some minor updates for security reasons, but for that change, over time, because there are security updates that happen, but not nearly as often as Windows. And what it does is it connects to your cloud desktop. I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like a little bit later here. I'm actually going to demo a cloud desktop and show you what it looks like. And a lot of these services, believe it or not, that power at the back end of this are already built into things you're already buying. So I'm going to assume that this client is already or is starting a Office 365 instance. So they're going to go into Microsoft 365 and they're going to buy Office accounts to give them the licenses and mail, email, and all those kind of things for their business. They're going to do that regardless of whether they buy the hardware or whether they do it in the cloud. They're going to have to license email from Google or Microsoft. I'm choosing Microsoft because that's the solution I'm going to show you today's Microsoft's. So the hardware cost is a fraction. And this is, again, these are very conservative numbers. So I'm going to spend a lot less, almost $20,000 less. It's about 19 and change. What it comes down to is this is now money I can use to actually use in my business instead of investing in hardware. Okay. I'm also going to talk about some tax advantages to this a little bit later too, as a business, and why it's more economical to go this route. So not only have I not blown a lot of money on hardware and software licensing, because in this model, the licensing is actually built into the product. So I don't have to go out and buy those things. It's built in. So are the upgrades for those licenses. So it completely eliminates this hardware upgrade cycle. These two big cost factors now disappear and are much, much lower, because now all I'm having to deal with is maybe some minor upgrades or replacements to my thin clients, monitors, things like that on a gradual basis. And I'm not having to rebuy the newest, greatest, latest PC with more memory, more RAM to run those things, because those things are powered by the cloud. The horsepower is there. It's not in my actual physical device that I'm using to touch it. It's remote viewing. It's kind of like watching Netflix. The movie actually resides on Netflix. I'm just streaming it to my device to watch it. Well, remote desktops work very much that same way. It actually sits on the server and operates there, and I'm just remote viewing it securely. So it gives me the ability to run all my desktop applications from anywhere. I could be on a cruise ship and access it without I don't have to bring a laptop with me on vacation anymore. I can just go into the community PC, pull up a web browser, log into my instance, verify who I am with my phone, and I'm into my desktop, and I can now work from a cruise ship if I want to. Not that I want to do that, but you could. So your cost savings and maintenance, I'm going to get to the maintenance part of it. So IT support is actually virtually about the same. The cost of having this environment and paying for it by the month, as opposed to paying an IT support person to it, this has IT support built into it. So it's kind of a non-factor, where this, you're having to pay for IT support to manage this. So when it all comes down to it, what I'm saving here is all this hardware and software costs. And then I'm saving myself having to do it again every 3 to 5 years in order to maintain the life cycle of the hardware and the software itself. So I am basically getting myself out of the hardware business, and you as a business. So what is good for me is good for you, and everybody wins. It's a very win-win scenario here. So let's talk about what the real savings are. When you own something, you got to buy all the server and software. You got to buy that up front. When you buy your desktops in your office, you got to buy that up front. The security for it, you have to buy it up front. Your disaster recovery has upfront and monthly costs associated with it. And then, of course, your ongoing IT maintenance we just talked about, which is a variable cost depending on what you're doing, who's doing it for you, and how much you're doing. Whether you're doing on-site, all remote, a combination of the both, that can vary greatly depending on that. When you're doing cloud, all these things are included. And the only time you would really have to have somebody on site is if you're having some kind of internet connectivity issue to get your connectivity, internet back up. So what we're teaching people in this is stop investing in this and just rent it, because this is what you're doing. You're renting this infrastructure. But by doing that, you've now created an expense for your business that is 100% tax deductible. Those of you who are accountants or business people who know what I'm talking about, instead of investing in hardware that I have to pay tax on, franchise tax and other things as a business, and then I can write it off either, in a year or over a number of years, I'm now created a service that is now 100% tax deductible. So it is now deductible from my bottom line as long as you use it. I'm not throwing away money into assets. So you've now created something that makes more financial sense to your business and something that actually helps your business scale. All right. And has all the things like disaster recovery, backup built into it. You're on enterprise level hardware. So you're getting rock solid reliability and accessibility. Service providers like us and Office guarantee what we call the 5 nines. There's no such thing as 100% uptime, but we guarantee like 99.999% service. And we call that an SLA, or a service level agreement. So we guarantee our service is going to provide that level of uptime. There's no way a small business of any size could even come close to the investment that cloud is put into infrastructure and hardware. This hardware, your solution is sitting in a tier 3 data center. It's PCI compliant. It's HIPAA compliant. It's triple redundant internet connectivity at usually anywhere from 10 to 25 gigs. So you're talking about something that is just, and it's sitting on redundant hardware, redundant. It's sitting in an air conditioned and controlled environment that's redundant, and redundant power grids. So you're talking about something that's most likely never going to go down. And it would be impossible for you to replicate the investment that even comes close to what this is sitting on. So it is really a cost-effective, solid solution for any business, regardless of whether you're 3, 5, 10, 50. It really doesn't matter. And I'll show you some ways you can go about it if you're running custom applications. I'm going to show you another side you can do that's outside of the Microsoft realm. Um, there's something I'm going to talk about when I go into the demo side to kind of show you this later. I'll show you what Microsoft's looks like, and I'll show you how to do what we can do in custom environments for those of you who have maybe customized POS applications, things like that, that require a server that you can't do on the Microsoft platform, but actually require an actual Windows server. And we'll talk about that in a minute. How easy is it to get up in a bit? This is probably the coolest part. If you are already integrated into the Office 365 thing, it's actually even faster than this, because if you are set up in Office, and I'll show you what I'm talking about, you can literally just pay for the desktop, allocate it to a user, and all the things like email, OneDrive, the things that the shared drives that you use within your business are automatically created based on the permissions that are already set up inside the structure. So rolling out new employees just became really easy. And emails incorporated with that, mobile device management, all those things, access to it, two-factor or multi-factor authentication is built in. All those things that they're required are now just part of the solution. Automatic document retention, automatic document versioning built into the solution. All those things are just there already. And so you don't have to worry about document management, file servers, multi-factor authentication, HIPAA compliance, storage compliance. All those things are just built into it because that's the way it's set up from the beginning. So it honestly, and then training somebody how to use it and access it, configuring their mobile devices for email, and migrating any data you might have if you're not in the environment already is very, very simple. So this kind of stuff can be you can be up in a cloud environment, literally for a small business. You can be up in a cloud environment in a week. It's not hard at all. And it's very, very inexpensive. And the funny part is most people are paying for 65 to 70% of the cost of the cloud environment in their Office subscriptions already, and just don't know how to use it. It's because no one ever taught them it was there or showed them how to access it or set it up properly. So they don't even know how to use it, but it's there and it's just unutilized. What it includes, and this is, I'm just going to kind of wrap up with this and we're going to go into kind of showing you what it looks like, how it works from an end user. I'm going to share out my desktop. I'm going to access a remote desktop and show you how it looks to an end user. It includes highly redundant server hardware. All your Windows desktop and Microsoft Office 365 licensing is included and already pre-installed. It includes all the 365 collaboration suites, and that's Word, Excel, Outlook, all that stuff is already there. You get the same desktop everywhere technology. What that means is if I'm at my office and I'm in the middle of a spreadsheet for something for work and I need to go, but I don't want to lose where I'm at, I can literally disconnect from that desktop, go do what I got to do. I can come back, or I can go to an entirely different desktop at home, log back in, and I'm exactly where I left off. I did not change anything. I didn't do anything. It's right where I left off, and I can access that from anywhere. It doesn't matter if I'm on a laptop in Starbucks, on my home computer, or my office computer, or like I said, on a cruise ship. I can pick up and start working exactly where I was, because the desktop is not on your physical device. It is in the cloud. And all I'm doing is remote accessing it. You get guaranteed uptime and service response. You get 24/7, 365-day a week monitoring of your environment and your platform, making sure that it's up and working all the time. It includes backup and disaster recovery, help desk support, and ticketing. There is options for on-site support. That's optional. It's not included. It includes the management, monitoring, and cybersecurity for all those devices. So basically all the cybersecurity aspect of that, as far as endpoint protection, employee training, all that's included. Okay. We set up all your printers, scanners, mobile devices to do all that. There's discounts on physical product. Like if you need to have cabling, conferencing, media room, phones, we can provide all that. And there's discounts available to alignable members for that. You get monthly technical reviews with managers to find out about issues that are happening. In other words, instead of just finding out about them, we actually proactively reach out and talk to people. We want to relate. We're a part of your company. We want to make sure things are working properly. and you're going to get unparalleled service from a veteran-owned and operated company. We operate very efficiently as a company, and we are very proud ourselves on customer service. So I'm going to leave it off with that. I just wanted to let you know that a complete solution for a business is really important. Having one place to be accountable for everything is huge. I want you to understand that cloud is something, there's a lot of people come back to us and say, wow, I don't know if I trust cloud. Well, believe it or not, if you guys own a cell phone, you've been using cloud as long as you've had a smartphone. Everybody uses cloud in some way, shape, or form, either at home, on your computer, if you're using Gmail, if you're using Outlook, if you're using a Google phone or any kind of an Android or Apple phone with iCloud or Google on it, you are using cloud, and you've been using it every day. Most of your phones back up to the cloud. Anyway, so were you going to say something, Ernest?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you're doing banking online, you're using the cloud. If you're
Exactly.
doing sales, using Salesforce, you're using the cloud.
Exactly. So I'm gonna let me go ahead and I'm gonna kill this here real quick and get rid of that screen. You guys should be able to see my blank screen now. I'm gonna bring something over. So I'm gonna bring something over that is probably something you guys have seen before, and that is I'm gonna open this up in a different window here so you can see what I'm looking at. But you guys have probably seen an Microsoft 365, your portal. When you sign into Office 365, you got Outlook, Teams, Word, you got all your stuff that you can, and you have your desktop apps. This is the standard screen you get when you log into Microsoft. Okay. What I'm going to do though is I got to bring this down because this thing is pinned and I can't see the whole bar. But if you go in to Windows 365, which is an extension, you can see right here, here's all my stuff from Microsoft 365. But I have a cloud PC right here. You can see I'm running Windows 11, 2 CPUs, 8 gigs of RAM, and I have a 128 gig drive attached to it. Now, what's really cool about this is that I can grow this at any time. So if I need more storage, I say 256, I can literally open up this configuration and I can increase that. I can give myself more RAM, more CPUs, more storage on demand without having to reload the whole machine or buy hardware. It is on demand, instantly happening. And to show you what that looks like on a cloud, here's my cloud desktop. And I'm going to show you real quick kind of what this looks like. So I'm going to go to full screen so you can kind of see how that looks full screen. So this is on a 1080p screen. And you can see, I can see this is the hard drive on my machine right here. This is my local hard drive on my computer redirected. So if I want to move stuff back and forth, I can easily do that. But look, here's my company OneDrive right here. I can expand it out, and you can see here, I can see my company OneDrive. I can see all my documents in that company OneDrive. And I have a dedicated team drive here for our marketing team. I can see that just like I can in Windows. And it's the same way my regular Windows right here. This is the window off my desktop. And you can see these are pretty much. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up to you is because a lot of people don't understand that these things but everything I'm showing you here, by the way, with exception of the cloud desktop, is included in your Office 365 subscription. Teams, the integrated, the cloud file system, the OneDrive, the Teams, all that stuff is built in. And it does not require any additional money over my subscription. It's just there, and I know how to configure it and use it. So I can see my personal files are in the cloud, my company files are in the cloud. There is no physical server in my office at all. And I can reach these at anything on any device. I can also have it upload pictures from my phone and scan PDFs from my phone and all sorts of things. Lets me use my phone as a scanner. So there's lots of neat things you can do with it. You can see that my Teams is here. This will redirect my microphone, my camera. Now, I don't have those things done right now because I'm in this conference and it will take it away from this. But this desktop can cruise the internet and do just everything I can do in a normal desktop, but it is actually in the cloud. And I can reduce it back and show it in a browser right here. And if I want to get out of it, I can log out, or I can close it. I can just get out of the session here. But when I close this, it will actually leave, and I can go right back to where I started again, just simply by going back to this and logging back into it from anywhere. So anywhere I have access to a browser, I have access to my work. This is one of the things that makes it really, really convenient and handy to do. And I didn't have to spend a dime on hardware, not one dime. Now, if you have something that for say, let's say you have a customized POS or point of sale application you need to run and it requires a server to do it, or an accounting application or something like that. Now we have the ability we have what's called CaaS. We have our own environment. This is based on VMware. This is something new we just introduced in 2024. And we can come in here, we can build out a server for you. And we have 25 data centers. I'm going to pick one in North America. I've got 6 in North America. We have 8 more coming online this year. I'll pick the one, and this is the one in Dallas. I can actually choose Windows. I can choose which operating system of Windows I want to run. And then all I have to do is come down here and choose what hardware resources I want for that server. Choose my storage, and I can even add a secondary hard drive. And by this is all SSD storage. So I can even add, if I want a 1 terabyte I'm going to leave this one here, come down here, and let's add an SSD drive. And let's say I want to give that SSD drive a terabyte. I can include daily backup of it, and I can include 24-hour service support, which means I can call in 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I can get service. And what happens is you can actually then access this server from anywhere. We put a firewall in front of it, VPN it to your office, and it is now a server in the cloud. You didn't have to spend thousands of dollars on hardware, but it is actually sitting in a tier 3 data center. And all we do is use the bandwidth now. Instead of spending money on hardware, we do things like SD-WAN. SD-WAN is where we take internet connections from 2 different providers and tie them into a single connection. So that way you're always up. So no matter if we lose connection from one or the other, you're always up. And it basically provides a higher availability, or what we call a more solid business continuity product to your business. So your business is always up, always running. We do the same thing with phones. We do cloud-based solution with phones through Vonage and other providers. And that means that your phone system, the main controller for your phone, is in the cloud. So nothing is dependent. If your office goes up in flames and everything in your office is destroyed, you won't lose a thing. Your phones will still be answered. Your data will still be there. You won't miss a tick. You could work from a hotel room. You could work from home. If the entire city was devastated, that data is replicated to a second data center for business continuity. Now, there's a cost for that, but we can replicate it to Chicago and have it as on demand. So if something happens, let's say the city of Houston gets nuked, or Dallas, where this data center is, and it's nuked, it's gone. Okay, we can literally just flip a switch and turn you on in Chicago, and you've missed maybe half a day of business at that. So that's what the kind of power cloud gives your business. It gives it almost an indestructible nature. And because it's being snapshotted every day, if you were to fall victim to, but at some point, a lot of people do, not everybody does, but it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, that you get ransomed or you get an event, a cybersecurity event where you get breached. We can actually go back in time to where that pre-server breach and restore it within minutes. Like when I mean minutes, I'm talking about less than 30 minutes. And we can actually bring your entire environment back up to that pre-infection time and have you up and running. So you don't have to pay ransom to get your data back. Now, you don't ever want to be in that situation, because if you do get in that situation, it's a whole nother ballgame. It's not about just having your data locked out. Can we put it back? Yes. But it's about it's about your data being stolen and sold that becomes a different ballgame. And that's where the cybersecurity stuff that we talk about with Ernest and I, and a lot of these, you don't ever want to find yourself on that other side of the coin. We're all about prevention. Everything in our business, in the cybersecurity business, it's way cheaper to prevent than it is to remediate. And there's too much damage being done. Our motto in this business is, it's a lot harder to fix the plane after it crashed. When it's on the ground in pieces, there's not a lot we can do for you. And the bodies are lying around and the plane's, on fire. It's a little too hard to pick up the pieces at that point. And a lot of small businesses end up losing their businesses over it, either in data that's being sold, lawsuits, or compliance fines. There's a lot of factors that get involved. So
And
I'm going to open.
customers.
Yep, customers, all sorts of
Yeah,
things.
because if you're down, and you can't operate for a month, your customers are not waiting.
Oh,
They're
they're
going
not.
somewhere
So
else to get product and services.
absolutely. So I know this was a little bit different of a topic you guys were expecting today, but I wanted to at least give you something we had prepared for 2 weeks from now. So hopefully we'll do ADP in 2 weeks. But I hope you found the information we threw out today informative. Do any of you have any questions? Open up your mics. Feel free to talk. We definitely would like to hear any questions you have about what we talked about today.
Thanks, Robert. That was a great overview. I actually have a small IT consulting business, so I promote everybody using cloud as much as they can. Can you kind of give a little sense of this implies or assumes that individual employees, say you have 5 employees in your business, are using personal devices, right?
Mhm.
They're still accessing their work computer
Yes.
in the cloud, but they've got to have a computer, like some sort of sense of what sort of specs for that computer to have something that performs at business speeds, number one. And then number two, talk a little bit about training. And I heard you say this a couple of times, and I run across this all the time. People
Yeah,
just don't
training and
know.
implementation is huge. It's usually where a lot of companies drop the ball.
Mhm.
And that can make or break a solution. Training and implementation are huge. So having a good implementation plan that the business can swallow and understand what it is they're getting, it's about managing expectations. Um, when we sit down with a company and you're in the business, you know what I'm talking about. Managing expectations, what they can expect to see, what they can expect to have in the platform is huge. How they're going to access. So one of the things I like to do when we're talking to these people is always make sure to find out every way they access. In other words, not what they're doing, but how they want to do it. In other words, I always start with, let's just take money out of the question for a minute. If you could live in a perfect world, how would you do business? And because what I want to know is I want our clients to tell us in their ideal world how they want to how they want to communicate and work with their clients. And a lot of times clients will disqualify things thinking they're too much money in their own head. It's kind of like it's a self-defeat mechanism. And so we get people to drop that and say, listen, just tell us what you want to do. And then let us tell you whether it's possible or not. Because we're kind of like, you're coming to us, you're sick, tell us what the symptoms are, we'll tell you what the cure is. Don't self-diagnose. And so by doing that, we're able to kind of get right to the nitty-gritty of what they are really trying to do. And we will base our entire solution around the goal of giving them exactly what they want. And sometimes you have to be careful because what they want may not be what they need. And that's where you know what I'm talking about. If you've worked with owners can be, especially in small businesses, they have their own ideals about how to do things. So I'm going to get right to what you're talking about here because I know I'm kind of getting off in a kind of I want to say something about defining expectation because that has a lot to do with implementation. If you define exactly what it is they're going to get in the beginning, how they're going to access it, and have that very clear on the front side, it makes the delivery and implementation a lot easier. But doing it, staging it in pieces that doesn't interrupt their business is huge. Okay. One of the things that in any business, whenever you take time away from their functionality, them being able to function with a customer, you're taking money out of their pocket. And that's something that a lot of consultancies don't consider. For instance, in a dentist, let's say you got a 5-person dentist practice, okay? And you're helping this dentist. For every hour that chair is not functional with a computer in front of it because he uses computers to access records, take x-rays, for every moment that chair doesn't have an operable computer, he loses thousands of dollars a day. Literally, every chair inside a dentist firm can be anywhere to $3 to $5,000 a day in an active dentist firm, and that's what that loss of income or interruption in business. It's very important when we plan implementation to make sure we take interrupting their business as least as possible a factor. Do as much as we can after hours. Do as much as we can, and make sure that we don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's probably one of the biggest problems in our industry is promising the world, and then you give them, Disney World, Small World, or something. You don't give them what they're expecting, and then you have this gap. You got to make sure that managing that expectation of what it's going to function like, what it's going to look like afterwards, and then do it in stages that they can swallow it. Because if you go too much, a lot of times that wow factor, wow, we went from here to here, but you did it like this, and they don't understand how to use it. Not everybody is acceptable to change. I've got attorney firms that have the same, they got attorneys with the same secretary for 32 years, and they can't stand change. If I change a folder, I hear about it. If I change about where something's located, I will hear, I'll get 50 emails about it in a week because it's different than how they're used to doing something. Why are you changing that? Why did you do that? I don't understand. So we have to make sure that we are taking it in bite-sized pieces, number one, that they can swallow and they can adapt without interrupting their business process. Because the last thing you want to do is sell a solution, implement it, and have all the employees complain to the owner that this isn't working because I don't know how to use it. I don't understand. And it's not that you didn't do your job right. It's that they don't even want to learn. They don't understand the advantage to themselves. Nobody took the time to explain that this is going to save you 5 hours a day because this is a better way of doing it. And they don't, and sometimes pride becomes a factor. You got to watch those egos, well, my way of doing it's better. Ernest, what's the biggest, what in our business in IT, egos are like the hardest thing to cope with in our business. Sometimes you will work with people that are egocentric and it's like a territory thing. It's like, when I go into a company, I'm just glad to be there working with them. I really don't care about, about getting into this measuring contest or territory contest. I want to help the owners accomplish what they want. And 9 times out of 10 in the companies I'm working with that are over 25 employees, I'm working with an existing IT company or an IT person. And the last thing I want to do is have them be facing off with me all the time. So, being able to help them understand that we are making their job easier, that we are trying to lighten their load, not make it bigger. And we're not trying to take over. What we're trying to do, to give you an idea, in the same IT firm, they had a full-time IT guy. They had 65 people, and he was worried about losing his job. I said, don't worry about it. I said, we're going to transition what you do. We're going to make it different. So instead of worrying about the servers and maintaining all this stuff, which you don't know how to do, we're going to do that. And we're going to make you are going to be the IT manager, handles all the on-site hand-to-hand stuff, do all the hand-holding. And what's happened now is he has better job security than ever because he knows everybody there. He knows the partners. And I've had a relationship with him for 19 years because I secured that for him. And we have a working relationship that's dynamite. But it takes everybody understanding how everything's going to work together. And sometimes you have to really be careful about how you're interworking with the people on the other side. You have to be aware of attitudes, pride, it's just a matter of being, it's more, I'm going to tell you this, Shancy, am I saying that right? Or is that standing for something else? Is it Shancy? Learning how to deal with people on their level. One of the best books I ever wrote, and I actually know him, I surfed with him in Southern California, was Tony Robbins. Anthony Robbins. I never knew him by Anthony. I knew him as Tony. And when I knew him, he didn't look anything like he does now. And it's so hilarious. So he used to surf in Newport Beach and hang out there in the same circles we did. And I didn't know him per se. I'd met him a few times, and our company paid for us to go to one of his seminars. This was like 10 years later, and paid $300 a seat for us to go listen to Anthony Robbins. It was right after he released Unlimited Power. And we went there and listened to this guy's tall, nice looking in a suit and everything. I didn't even recognize him. We went up to go get our books authored because we got a copy of the book, and he was signing them. And he said, "So how you doing, Rob?" I said, "Do I know you?" He said, "Tony," because he was introducing himself as Anthony. And I had never seen him in a suit. I've only seen him in a bathing suit and t-shirt with beard and stubble and, looking like he had just come from a party. And he goes, "Yeah, we used to hang out in Newport. We used to hang out at the same party, surf down on Balboa, remember?" And I'm like, "How in the heck did you even remember that?" So it's kind of funny, the people you meet in your lifetime. But what I learned from his book, and I'm bringing this up, it was kind of a side story. I'm bringing up Unlimited Power because it taught me how to read people. That book taught me how to read people and recognize people. And I don't mean read by, doing anything mysterious, but by looking at their office, looking how their office is decorated, listening to how they talk, their mannerisms, understanding how they communicate, and then taking that and altering what I present based on what I see for more effective communication. Because if I can communicate in a way that, like, if I know that he's an A-type personality, he doesn't really care about process. He just wants to know the answers and that I can do the job for him. He doesn't care about the process. He's got other people that do that. So when I'm in a meeting with him, I just want to communicate in the way that he needs to hear what I've got to say. And that means I need to alter what I'm going to say, what I'm going to communicate in a way that I know he will understand it. And if we're doing that, then we're talking at this level and it's not here or here or here and here. Does that make sense? What I found that to be one of the most valuable things I've ever learned in my life came from that book. And I still have a copy back there in my bookshelf behind me.
I think that kind of back to my original question about minimum PC requirements, because we'll say clients, their employees will have an iPad and they'll expect to run, a virtual PC on it, like the cheapest iPad there is, $300 or whatever. And it's like, it's just
so you're talking about people that are trying to run like virtualization software on something like that. Yeah. So what I would say to people like that, yeah,
don't let them do that.
Don't let them do that at all. I would say just go license a Windows 365 license for $25 and do it there. And then you don't need to worry about that. I would do a cloud environment. I wouldn't put virtualization is not for the light of heart. And a lot of people get into doing that when they really shouldn't, just so they can run Windows compatibility. If you've got Windows requirements in your office and you have to have it to do what you're doing, then don't run Apple. And because there's honestly no advantage to it anymore. There used to be an advantage security-wise a long time ago, but I'm going to tell you right now, ransomware viruses are computer system agnostic. They don't care. They run on everything now. They run on Linux, Windows. It really doesn't make a difference. So, and it's not about what they're doing isn't about getting in and breaking your PC. They're hacking people and getting into your accounts.
Sure. Yeah.
What they're doing the whole thing of needing requirements on a PC. My laptop doesn't have anything special. I'm running a $500 laptop. Seriously, I'm running an HP laptop that I bought from Sam's for $600. It's a Core i5 with 16 gigs of RAM, and it's running Windows 11. It's running home because everything I access doesn't sit there. I'm just accessing cloud, and that doesn't require anything on my PC. It doesn't require hardly any resources on my PC other than modern networking. I need to have a good wireless card, and I need to have a good and possibly a network card to plug into. I have both on mine. That was one requirement, is I wanted Ethernet and wireless in case there was just crappy wireless, and I needed a better environment. A lot of hotels have better plug-in than they do wireless. So when I travel, I will sometimes use a hard plug. So that's one of the reasons why I have a laptop that does both. But honestly, I've got people that run their whole work environments from a Lenovo IdeaPad. Same thing as an iPad, but it's Android. But it's a bigger, like a 12.9-inch one with a keyboard. And they get, because their desktop isn't on that device, it's in the cloud, and they're just accessing it remotely through a browser, and they're able to do everything they need to do with that. I would stay away from virtualization on a desktop, because number one, like, I run it here for test bed. So I have VMware Workstation, okay? And I run it for test bed because I test applications, and I do it for what's called sandboxing. I will sandbox and do virus tests and things like that, but I don't do anything production in that environment. I don't sit there and work out of it. I do it so I can run a Mac environment on there, and I can run a Linux environment and different environments without having to change PCs, but I'm sitting on a Windows base. Nobody needs what I have here. Nobody needs 32 gigs of RAM and 16 processors. It's ridiculous. You don't need that. All you need is to engineer your solution in such a way that you don't need to spend money on hardware. What's really important right now is a decent responsive device, good connectivity, and good battery life. If you got that, then you can work from about anywhere.
Yeah. And I think the training piece, like you said, it sounds like, is that included in your package, or is that
Yeah.
actually
Well,
a cost?
so
Yeah.
we have taken awareness training and actually put it on demand. We have a site called training.aiointegrations.com. Anybody can register. It's free. We do employee training. We even have a piece for families that teaches families how to be more cyber aware and teaches them about digital parenting tools for their kids, things like that. Why they're stealing information from schools and how they're using social media to tie those things
So
together.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is stuff parents need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to know that Facebook and these things are really dangerous for kids. In fact, I saw we got a hand up. I'm gonna just one second. Let me make sure I got her. Chancey, did we answer your question?
Yeah, it was more of a conversation, but yeah, that was very helpful. Thank you.
If you would like to have an off, message me through Alignable, and we'll have an off kind of an off meeting that we can focus on that. I'd be happy to do that with you. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Always happy to connect with professionals. Anybody. Okay, go ahead.
No, you had mentioned something and it was training and I was trying to write it, but then I wanted to hear the next thing.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So if you go to our website, and our website is just put in aiosupport.net. I'll put it in the chat box here. And down at the very bottom, there's two links I'll bring your attention to. There is one that says awareness training. But no, wrong link. Don't click on that. Sorry. It's .net. I am being ignore that link. That is not it. I was typing fast and I typed .com and that is not it. Let me get you the right one. There you go. Click on the second one. That will bring you to, and I'll share my screen out here for a second so you can see where I'm talking about. I'll show you guys exactly where to find it. So everybody should be able to see my screen now in just a second. There we go. Can you guys see that? So this is our main page, and it talks about all the cybersecurity side of it, and you can go through and do this all yourself. I'm not going to pitch it. We got a lot of videos and things you can watch. Right down here under resources is awareness training. If you click on here, this is totally free to anybody who wants to use it. We have two classes we do. We have a cybersecurity awareness for employees called basic training. It consists of, these are recorded, self-serve, and it consists of 3 courses. There's one on understanding the threat, attack methods, and protection methods, and then the impacts of breaches on business liability, compliance, reputation. There are tests to each one of these. You do have to pass them, and you do get a certificate at the end of it that you can use to certify that you've been through an awareness course. That can be used for anything where you need to prove that you've been through cybersecurity training, for insurance or anything like that. Now, all you have to do is hit sign up, provide your email address and your name. We don't use this for anything. It's just to verify you are a real person. And then once it'll send you an email. Once you verify that you're a real person, you have free access to all the coursework. So if you scroll down here a little further, there's one for family and friends. And this one covers a couple of things. This one covers a cybersecurity awareness that is for the whole family. Anybody who uses technology in the home. This one has 2 pieces, and it is for parents only. This is it's for parents, about creating quality time at home, setting digital boundaries for your kids and grandkids. I've got both. All my kids are grown, but I do have I got 4 granddaughters. At creating a safe digital home for your kids. It also talks about digital parenting tools. We talk about things from Microsoft and other things that help you kind of keep tabs on who they're talking to, what apps they're using, emails, device use time. Even older kids, when they're driving, you can tell when they're driving too fast, braking too hard. It kind of puts a little you can know where they are, puts a GPS tag on them. Back in the day when we were kids, I got kicked out of my house if it was a nice day and we weren't seen until it was dark. We went to our friends, but my parents knew who my friends were. They knew my friends' parents. It was a different world then. Now we have these phones, and half the people on these phones are not who they say they are. And as parents, we need to know. The reason why we created this section for families is last year it came to our attention through a lot of the junkets we were going to FBI and Homeland and things, that there were 7,000 documented cases last year, minors being attacked by hackers, sextortion, things like that, where they were actually being targeted and exploited. Those are the ones we know about. Out of that, 16 suicides. Families had no idea their kids were doing things they were doing. They had no idea that there was a problem. Next thing they know, their kid is dead. And then they find out their kid was doing some things they shouldn't have done, talking to people they shouldn't have talked to. And as a result, their kid committed suicide because they were worried about being embarrassed about their parents or friends finding out what they did. This came to national attention towards the end of last year when it happened to a football player that had a full ride up in, I think it was in Michigan. And he was hacked by some Nigerian hackers that basically posed through Snapchat as a girl, got him to send pictures of himself to them, and then they turned around and blackmailed him for $1,000. He paid about 300 of it, couldn't pay the rest. And they have this documented, of course. The FBI caught these people, charged them for murder because the kid killed himself when he couldn't pay the rest of the ransom, and they threatened to release the pictures to his family and friends. He was afraid he was going to lose his ride to college, thought he was going to be, just humiliated, killed himself. Parents had no clue this was happening. They were totally just in the dark, deer in the headlights. It's great that FBI caught the hackers, the 3 Nigerian guys that did this. They charged them with murder. It doesn't bring back their kid. So we have to be better parents. We have to be better digital parents with what's going on with our kids. So we created that course strictly for the purpose of helping to educate parents. By the way, all that training is free. It's open for anybody to use it who wants to. Anybody else have any questions?
That will be helpful. I'm trying very hard to use the cloud, but I try to go on it, and then my inner self stops me from trusting it. So that's
if any of you ever have any questions, I'm the leader of the group, the founder of the cybersecurity group for this. If you ever have any questions about things you can do or things you need to do, or any questions about what's secure, what isn't, Ernest as well, he's in the group. Just message any of us. We're here to answer questions. That's what we do.
I want to share something. I've done a lot I helped startups and small businesses. I've also worked for Disney. One of my last contracts was 5 years at Microsoft in their security world. For those that I've helped, especially small companies and startups, when you move from your own servers and equipment with the labor and everything, you will save at least 75%. So if you've got that money to burn for your conscience of saying, oh, I can't do this because it's not safe, it's actually safer than your office.
Way safer.
And we're going into summer, so you're going to have to pay more for air conditioning, and you're going to, because you can't turn your servers off at night and weekends. And, the other side of that is what happens, like you said, in a disaster. I live in a disaster world. I live in Florida and Puerto Rico. Earthquakes, hurricanes, uprisings, you name it, it happens. Power outages, especially in Puerto Rico, right? So being in the cloud is the only way you can survive, because I can go anywhere and go connect to the cloud, and I'm working.
You can connect to the cloud at Starbucks or McDonald's, for God's sake.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Any hotel. There's free internet at Barnes and Noble. It's one of those things that internet is very common. It's becoming more widespread. We've got Starlink now is available. That's Elon Musk service that's available in a lot of like rural areas, mountain areas. Now, a lot of people use it in their RVs when they travel. It's actually crazy good for that. Go ahead.
And I've got SIP for my phone.
Sorry, we had somebody raise their hand. Sorry about that, Ernest. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to also say, if you go and you buy office licenses for 3 licenses, it costs you $600. If you go and get Office 365, you get 5 licenses for $99 a year.
And all the cloud services that go with that.
And the free updates.
Yeah.
So 2010 went to 2013, then 2013 went to 2016, now it's 2019 that you're using. It's 2022 should be coming. Well, it probably won't be 2022.
It's 2024 now is what they're calling it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So I get the free updates every, and you pay $100 for 5 licenses. Yeah. So you can't beat it.
OF, you got your hand up. What's going on?
Yes. Okay. A couple of things. One, did you say it's Office 365 or Office 355?
365. Yeah. If you just put office.com, it'll come up.
Okay. And then the other thing, and of course, this is going to seem strange to everybody else, but I am very cautious, and so the idea of going to someplace like Starbucks or wherever and connecting with the internet, that I'm a little scared of doing that.
Well, and with good cause, there are some things to be aware of. If you use public hotspots a lot like that,
Mhm.
I would probably do something like NordVPN, a VPN product. Uh, what's the other one? Proton that's out there, Ernest? There's a couple of
Well,
others.
there's Open VPN. The other thing that you can do is if you're using Microsoft, I can't speak for Apple, but Microsoft will say, "Hey, you're not on private network here. Do you want to, secure your network?"
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Windows will do that for you, as much security as you will need, right?
Well,
It's a light encryption, but it's strong enough to stop anyone
yeah.
from hacking you.
Yeah. It's there, there are always concerns. VPNs are always the best to have if you're going to spend a lot of time on public networks. And I have one that I use just when I travel. If you're accessing from your home or a place where you trust, like your office, and you already have a business environment there, then there's not a need to do that. But in public environments, VPNs are a good idea. But just keep in mind, they don't protect you against the advertising they put out is a joke. It doesn't protect you against hackers. It doesn't protect you against malware. All it does is keep your traffic private. It doesn't actually protect you from hitting phishing sites or anything like that. You can still get phished by a hacker. You can still have all those things happen, but it does protect your traffic. The stuff going back and forth, like connecting to your bank and that kind of stuff, is more secure in something like that.
Now,
Yeah.
so are you then saying that if those classes that you pointed out, which I am going to check out, that they
Mm-hmm.
will point some of these things out
Oh, yeah. We'll even teach you how to recognize 3 easy ways to recognize phishing emails that you
Okay.
can look at and easily identify phishing emails. I've never fallen victim to them, but then again, I'm in the business. But I always found 3 easy things to look for to know phishing, and they're getting very creative, and they're getting very authentic looking by a lot of means as time goes on. There's companies that actually, you'd probably laugh at this, but there's companies like KnowBe4 and some others that actually get paid to actively, like proactively, to phish commercial environments like Microsoft, and they actually send fake messages to them to get people to fall for them, so they can teach people in real time what to and not to do. So in other words, they send fake ones, and if somebody clicks on it by accident, says, "Oops, you clicked on something you shouldn't. This is what you should have looked for in the future. Don't click on anything that has this." And it actually teaches you what to do in real time. It's actually very effective. But the big companies are actually doing this now because they're finding that to be very effective. One, it helps them find the weak spots within their company. In other words, people who are falling for those things regularly. And secondly, it trains them in real time to help them become better users. The biggest thing that Ernest and I see, and Ernest, correct me if I'm wrong, we go to these junkets, with FBI and Homeland, everybody there. The biggest thing is, how do we fix end users? How do we teach end users not to do things they shouldn't do?
Yeah.
It's our biggest problem as professionals.
Right. And they're your biggest liability. Like Chauncey was saying, what do we do? First of all, your customers, you're giving them a gun, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. Don't let them keep any data or anything of value off of the servers, the enterprise, really. And it
Yeah.
should be out in the cloud. Because if they have stuff on their desktop or their laptop and they lose it, or on their iPad and they lose it, and there's real data there, that's a real liability for a
Yeah.
company.
And
You know,
there's things you can use there's tools we can use in our industry that if something like that happens, it gets stolen, where we can remote wipe those devices if it's properly managed.
yeah,
But
BitLocker,
yep, yep. There's all sorts of things we can do with mobile
Authenticator.
device management. You don't ever want data portable. It needs to be in the server, in the cloud, and not on desktops. And believe it or not, we still fight that battle even in regular business environments. I mean, I got attorneys in the same company I was talking about earlier that still do stupid things like use Dropbox to communicate with their computer at home, which they don't need because they could do that with what they already have. But they have a Mac at home, and they'll go open up a PDF on their Mac that has a virus designed for Windows on it, and then put it in their Dropbox and his secretary will open it. Next thing you know, they've infected the office. Our biggest problem is getting users to follow guidelines and to be safer and practice safer, exercise zero trust. That's our motto, zero trust. I mean, that's what you got to do in today's world. Cloud isn't a zero trust. In other words, cloud isn't something to sweat. It is something that actually helps us do our job better for any company of any size. And it gives you a layer of standard for a small company that you couldn't even come close to duplicating on your own. I hope that helps.
Yeah, you gave me a lot to think about, and this is my mission now, is to try to follow what you're saying and get in the cloud, because I'm not in the cloud, and I'm going to try to get away from that.
Well, if you're using a smartphone, if you got an Android or an Apple phone, you're in the cloud.
But it's just what I do.
You're your pictures.
You got Gmail or Outlook.
Yeah, your pictures on your phone. If your iPhone, right? The I forget the name of the iPhone.
It's iCloud. Yeah, it's
iCloud, right? Yeah, and then Google the other side. Yeah,
you use it every day. Well, we're going to wrap up. Does anybody? We've already got a lot of people logging off. We'll answer any last questions, and then we're going to go ahead and sign off. We'll have the recording up for anybody who wants to watch it by the end of the week. But anybody got any questions?
Just I need to look at this again. So
I'll post up the link in the cybersecurity group, and I'll also, so everybody that was registered for today, when I post it, I'll send a message to everybody with the link. Okay.
Thank you.
That'll be perfect. And also, I wasn't quite sure where to find those additional educational pieces. You can go back and look. Can you put that in there?
It's in the chat. It's the second link on the chat.
It's in the chat. Okay.
Not the .com one, but the one that ends in .net. I mistyped that. So let me see if I can, let me delete that one. There we go. I can delete that.
Okay.
It's the .net one. And if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see something that says awareness training.
Got it. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yep. And you can just register. That'll give you access to both classes. There's no charge. Just need to verify you're a real person. Okay.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. That was very helpful.
You're welcome. You all have a great day, and thanks for coming in. Ernest, thanks again for your input, man. Always good to see you, buddy.
Sure. Same here, Robert. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Hi, I'm Robert with AIO Integrations. We provide top-of-the-line cybersecurity solutions. Don't be fooled. There are numerous digital threats that can destroy your company's ability to do business. Hacks, ransomware, employee error, and nefarious actors can take your business down. For some reason, people have been sold the myth that antivirus protects them from hackers. Nothing could be further from the truth. The fact is that hackers don't hack networks in small business, they hack people. And then they infiltrate and do what they need to do after they have already gained access through people. But people are their first and most reliable way to get into your business. AIO CyberGuard not only protects your business by monitoring it 24/7 for threats and protecting your endpoints, but we train your employees on how to recognize those threats very easily, and we protect your business with a $1 million financial protection plan. You need to ensure that your business stays in business. We make sure that it does.